Hi folks, welcome to the Moving Beyond Being Good podcast by Gary Ryan from Organisations That Matter. In this podcast, Gary shares everything about servant leadership, service leadership, authentic leadership, how to create high performance cultures, service excellence, and life balance. Here's your host, Gary Ryan.
Thank you, Sienna, for another lovely introduction, folks. I've got my energy pumped. I'm ready to go because of our special guest today. We have Prosper Teravinga, who is a digital marketing strategist and advisor with over 10 years. That's a decade in the old language of experience in successfully generating visibility, demand, and growth for coaches, consultants, and small business owners. Now, Prosper and his team at Live Long Digital, you want to go check them out. We'll have the connections and links in the show notes, which is based in Melbourne, Australia. Consult to clients to improve their SEO, positioning, and strategy. And one of the big things that Prosper does is he also helps with personal branding, which we're definitely going to be chatting about today. And finally, with the big punch, he is the host with the most of the online prosperity show that you definitely want to go and check it out, right? So Prosper, hey, I love your name, man. I love your name, right? It's just perfect for what you do. Welcome.
Gary, thank you so much. You know what? I thought I'd come into the recording a bit earlier. Was that me you were talking about? Because sometimes it just sounds like somebody else out of this world. But thank you so much, man, for having me on your show. I've been looking at your stuff, and congratulations on your book. Yes, for success. I'm really excited for what you're doing, and the fact that you're just gonna be spending the next 7 hours doing the audiobook is just out of this world. Good on you, man. Good on you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prosper. And that audio book, folks, I've just had the recordings come back from the studio. It is me with the recordings, but I have to listen to myself for 7.5 hours over what's going to be the weekend. You don't know that when you're listening to this, of course, just to check that everything's cool. So we can actually send it off to Audible and all those sorts of places to get it done. So thanks for the nice little plug back to me. Now let's get back onto Prosper. So fascinating, incredible journey from Zimbabwe to Australia. I think it's really important for folks to understand who you are and some key elements of that journey and how that's ended up with Live Long Digital.
Fantastic. I don't know. We're not going to run out of tape, right? Because it's a whole lifetime. But thanks once again, Gary. So I was born in a country called Zimbabwe in Africa. I don't know. Have you looked it up on the map at all? All right. So born in a place where we literally did not have any hope. And if you have heard of the country Zimbabwe, you would know we actually sort of invented inflation. I mean, inflation, they actually wrote books about Zimbabwe on how so much of the currency and the economy has just gone downhill for the past sort of 30 years. So just to give you context, I've been in Australia for 12 years now. And in the time that I've been here, we've gotten 4 presidents. Now, in my whole lifetime in Zimbabwe, I left Zimbabwe when I was about 28. We only had 1 president at that particular time. So you can imagine he had created so much of a culture that, even the CEOs or other companies were not even yielding their positions for the younger people. And what that meant is we had no hope. We had no aspiration. We literally did not have any role models because everybody else was just going to school, studying, would just go overseas, and go find greener pastures. So my turn of events came around when I was about 13 years old. And you can imagine, Gary, when you're 13, hormones are kicking in. You're thinking you're an adult, but you're not yet. You know what I mean? You're like,
Was the hair happening? Was the hair happening at 13?
Yes. Also, the hair was coming together. I thought I was a stud. So when I was 13 years old, we had an exchange student teacher that came to my school. Okay, so first of all, this person was a woman, and she was very, very young, and she was teaching mathematics, which happens to be a very difficult subject for anyone who really wants to do anything, with school. So I was just mesmerized by this young girl who's come from, we didn't even know where Australia was. And she's traveling by herself, and she's teaching mathematics, which is the hardest subject. Like any self-respecting teenager, I had to pay attention to what was going on. So I started studying, so that, Gary, I could get picked up in class. I think that's when my personal branding journey actually started, because I wanted to be known, so I could be picked up in class. So as time went by, she stayed with us for about two years. And in that time, she was teaching us everything about Australia. And so she was literally planting the seed that, hey, you too can be, do, and have a happier existence if you apply yourself. So in true Aussie fashion, when she was now leaving, you know what she said, Gary? She's like, oh, if any of you kids are going to be in Australia, just call me up and then we can have a cuppa. So that was only for me to later on realize in life that was spoken in jest, but I took that as a challenge. And about 18 years later from there, I found myself in Melbourne, wondering whether it's hot, cold, should I wear Speedos or a fur coat, because the weather around here just won't treat a guy.
Hey, folks, the scary thing is there are photos of Prosper in Speedos.
No, they're called Budgie Smugglers. It's a brand. Okay?
It's a brand, that's right. So you're in Melbourne, you're wondering, we got our 4 seasons in a day, right? And did you actually reach out to that teacher all those years later?
Oh, fantastic. So when I arrived, obviously I needed to find work. I needed to get myself set up and things of that nature. So no, I didn't call her up or look for her at that particular time, because what was I going to offer her? I hadn't even got anything. So when I arrived in Australia, I had nothing but a backpack full of hopes and dreams, my man. And that in and of itself entailed that I had to literally hit the ground running. So one of the first jobs that I did was work in a restaurant. So I was working in the back of the restaurant. You would know Melbourne, in Lygon Street. It was an Italian restaurant, and it was just one of those really fast-paced places. Yeah, pasta, carbonara, and everything else. I didn't even know any of those things. And you can imagine, I'm a hungry kid from Africa, and I'm being made to serve food. So So I got there, and I was working, and 2 months in, I noticed that I was not connecting with the people that I was working with. Everybody was just coming in, they'd just do their job. So, during the day, I would maybe work the waitering stuff. And then during the night, when the restaurant gets busy, I would actually do the dishes. So, it was like all of that. So I wanted to connect with the people that I was working with. And I found out that I couldn't. And I'm like, wait a minute, we could just find each other on Facebook and connect. So I went on to start looking for them on Facebook. Now, it's not like everyone had their name as spelled on there. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to create a group, first of all, or a page back in that time. I'm just going to create a page for this particular restaurant, okay? And then when I go to work, I'm going to invite everyone to like that page. Then I will know who is who. All right. So little did I know that I had, overstepped the boundaries of anything, because back in the time, the internet was not trusted then. All right, there were pages like Zomato and Urban Spoon. I don't know if you know them. So what other restaurants in the area would do is, if you have a profile on Urban Spoon or Zomato, they would go and write bad reviews.
Yes.
So when I went in the day with I thought I'd created something new, and I went in and I'm like, guys, hey, if anyone wants to like the page, just look it up. And I kid you not, 30 minutes into the shift, the boss came in. I don't know if you've ever seen, in TV shows, the door between the kitchen and it's like a sliding door. I swear that door went 360 by the way he just stormed in, and who did this? He didn't want to confront me, because then obviously that would have been that. He knew it was me, because I think maybe the chef had snitched on me on his break. I don't know what happened there. So who did this? And I was like, oh, no, that was me. And he's like, who gave you permission? And I'm like, oh, I thought it would be good for us to have a page. And it's like, this is my business. Take it down. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see anything. And I don't want to see you. After your shift, you're done. So I got fired.
Oh, wow.
So you can imagine, bro. I just arrived in Australia. I'm trying to sort myself out. I'm trying to connect with people. And the only thing that I thought would help me connect with people is the very thing that got me fired.
Wow.
So after the shift, I had to go, and there was no way for me to make money and everything else. So I went home. Whoa, and I started crying, man. And I just thought, whoa, I thought I was helping, you know? And sometimes the universe does things in mysterious ways, you know? Long story short, in about 2 weeks after I had been fired, the girls from a football team in Melbourne came to the restaurant, and then they tagged themselves on that page having dinner at that restaurant. And this is going to bring tears to me. The post went viral.
Wow.
So now the restaurant owner is faced with a situation where, should I let go of this or should I capitalize on this? And he did the right thing. The first thing he did was he called me and he said, I thought you were going to delete this. And I said, yes, I am in the process. Facebook gives you 30 days, yes, to make the deleting happening. And then he's like, okay, fine. So something has happened. There's people, they've taken a photo, and this photo, people are liking it. What should we do? And I was like, oh, just comment on it. He's like, no, I don't want to touch it. You come here on Monday. And then I went in on Monday, and I thought I was going to be in more trouble than I had created for myself. And I went in, he sat down, he's like, okay, forget the kitchen. You do the internet now. And I was like, whoa, okay. So you're not firing me. He's like, no. It's like, you do the internet now. And I was like, oh, okay, right. So now the biggest issue is I did not know anything about what the internet did at that particular time. You know, like, this is now, I've been given a role to run the Facebook page, to recreate what I had just done with these girls, which I was not even there when it was happening.
Oh, that's gold.
So
that's gold.
In essence, I got fired to do what I'm now doing now, Gary.
Yeah. That is 100% the universe lining up and saying, hey, Prosper, the light's on you. No matter what your belief was, the light was coming from somewhere, and the universe was saying, man, your light's going to shine bright. So, obviously, rolling forward, right, Live Long Digital gets born, right, at a point in time. Now, how many years ago was that?
So this would have been, we're going into year number 12 now.
Okay.
Year number 11.
Yes,
because,
yes.
Year number 11 in the business. So just to give you closure on that. So what I then started doing was I started inviting models, celebrities, A-listers to the restaurant in exchange for a free meal. So what the kids of today are calling influencer marketing, I started doing without even knowing that is what it was called. And when I started entering into the world of models and things, I started noticing that models don't actually get paid. It's called contra or time for print. So I then saw an opportunity where I could bring in photographers and models to start working together so they could take photos of each other. And then once the photos were taken, I then realized, wait a minute, what are we doing with these photos and who are we taking photos of? So I started connecting brands and models and things of that nature. And all this now just started creating itself into an agency of sorts. But it wasn't making any money that was really, observant. Then one lucky thing happened. I'm not going to mention the name, but one of the ladies who was on the Real Housewives of Melbourne, I had invited her to come to the restaurant, and she came with her family and things like that. But she didn't want her photo taken because she was still in contract with the thing. But what she then did was something that then set my career up. She invited me to come with her crew at Caulfield because she was doing a presentation. So Caulfield Racehorse, and then we went, and then from there, she was actually launching her yoga, clothing line.
Okay.
All right. And I saw an opportunity and I was like, I can do your marketing. I can do your marketing for you. And then I was in immediately put in the team that was running her marketing. And now I'm part of the A-listers. And remember, I've only been in Australia 6 months. I'm now brushing shoulders with the A-listers. I even met Yuzi at one of the parties. And I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't even have to go through the whole steps. And then I just held on to that. From there, I started working with other bigger brands. And before you know it, Live Long Digital had to come by. It had created itself. So I just stepped into a role that I was fired for, you know, and you can't connect the dots looking forwards. When things are happening, you can only connect the dots looking backwards.
It so makes sense why you're such a happy person. Like,
Happy go lucky.
Such a happy person because, you know, who got fired into their career? Because that's what why the same person, mind you, the same person who fired you put you into your career. Now, in reality, you did that work, right? Which is you did the work. And the other thing about your story is right at that very seed of all of this, your authentic, ethical intention was to help. Yes, it was maybe some people would label it naive and all of that sort of stuff, but that was your ethical, authentic intention was to help. And, you know, in the time that probably, I'm not sure if it's 2 years now that we've sort of known each other online, but, you know, that authenticity and the ethical side of what you're about. And part of when I say ethical is when you realize that you have a talent for something, there's a sense of duty, if you like, to deliver that to the world, right? And you've got that, and that sense of duty enables you that when you're at Caulfield Racecourse with the A-lister, and it has your radar open to the opportunity, okay? That you say, hey, I can do your marketing, right? And then what's equally brilliant around this story is there's multiple times when it's like, I can see it. I know what the outcome looks like. I have actually no idea how I'm going to do that. But one thing, I'm just going to go get busy, man. I'm just going to go is that accurate? Like you just went and got busy?
Oh, absolutely. Because remember, you know, when your back's against the wall, the only way is up. And if you can get up, you know, and then if you can look up, you can definitely get up, because so many people are maybe you know, they hit a wall and they don't quite know what to do next. But for me, every step, I mean, it did come with its own challenges. I mean, in some places, obviously, I didn't have the right, you know, uniform or the right look or whatever it is to get into other places, because I literally went from somebody who was living out of his backpack to being invited to A-list parties. Like that is a really big jump. I needed to have done some sort of legwork, you know what I mean? I needed to go to a barbecue at least and then see what it's like. No, I didn't. I went straight from like zero to caviar. And that in and of itself presented a lot of, oh, we've never seen you before. Who are you? And I had to explain myself a lot. And then I vowed to myself that I was going to put my name out there so much that I was never going to have to explain my name ever again.
I love it. Yeah. I mean, because you got to come out of obscurity, right? If you're obscure, people don't know who you are. And look, we live in a world where people are, to a degree, a lot of people are like, oh, you know, I don't want to let people know what I do and how my successes. And look, one of the things I know that you do through Live Long Digital is help people how to leverage social media for personal branding, and particularly for professionals. LinkedIn's one of the main tools that you use to help folk do that, and might be worth just spending some 2 or 3 key tips that you provide people about, you know, even if you're not someone that wants to be famous. The brutal reality is we still have this brand that we need to be presenting to the world, because otherwise we're obscure. And if we're obscure, no one knows who we are. If they don't know who they are, how are they going to hire us?
Oh, I like that. You see, the thing is, LinkedIn, when they first started, all right, they were obviously a professional site. So what that entailed was so many people would just go there and leave their resume and never have to worry about that, which was fine. But your resume can be downloaded right now from Seek. Your resume can be downloaded right now from all the other places out there. What employers are looking for right now is somebody who can show up, first of all, in their role, and then also show up in the capacity of actually connecting with either stakeholders, suppliers, or customers in a way that is not the systems that the company is already bringing. Like, I kid you not, if you're brought in as a business development manager, the company already has an email address for you. The company already has a phone number for you. The company already has maybe 3 or 4 leads for you. What they're expecting is for you to then go out there and generate something out of what they can provide you. All right. So the whole premise of this is people do business with those they know, like, and trust. How else are other people within the industry, or people that could possibly be your customers, or people that could buy from your brand or do business with your business, come and get to know you in time for them to then, help you reach your sales quotas? So LinkedIn actually does all the leverage for you, because guess what? We are on our phones 24/7. And what that entails is even those that are looking for services and those that are looking for maybe tools, systems, or processes that your company is providing, they're always searching, who is writing about this? Who is the thought leader in this space? Who can I rely on to give me this information so that I don't have to burn calories, in order to go and find this information elsewhere? So if you can do the legwork of creating for and relating to the people you're going to be selling to in the future, or people you're going to be inviting to, support your cause or your charity or things of that nature, what that entails is you are now the one person that people will just go to. You become a shortcut. And if you can become a shortcut with, the work that you're doing, guess what? All roads lead to you.
It's funny, to become a shortcut, you've actually got to put in the regular work along the way. And right, one of the fascinating things that you would see, as I see in LinkedIn, is all of a sudden someone becomes active, and it's like, okay, you're in a situation where you're not going to have a job soon, and now you found that out. So now you get active, and then all of a sudden you see the open to work on them, right? And it's like, you've got a 3-week history here on LinkedIn since you first joined 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago. You could have, just by not doing a huge amount of work, but regularly feeding the fire, regularly putting something in there, a really long history. So you are, in fact, standing out as a possible shortcut for someone else because you've actually got this long history. I mean, have you noticed that pattern as well?
Oh, we call them one-click wonders. All right. So that person just comes in, clicks, and then is like, hey, guys, look at me. Just puts a bit of energy around. And then we don't hear from them when they get headhunted. You see, the thing is, I understand when you're working within a corporate or an environment that entails that you're working throughout the whole day, you might not have time. But there's what's now called a creator culture, where you can literally go in, either create a video or create a blog post or create something that puts you in a very good standing. All right. Now, you may not want to do it personally, but LinkedIn also allows you to contribute to other, articles that, are being offered by LinkedIn. That is the easiest way for you to have a badge that says you are the top voice in X, Y, and Z topic. Now, wouldn't that be great when you send an email to Gary and then say, hey, Gary, how about coffee on Friday? And then when they open your LinkedIn, you're the top voice in whatever industry you're in. Gary will stop whatever they're doing because you must know something that he doesn't. And you say yes to success. All right, so you don't necessarily go in and create for yourself, or even the people that you're working with within your industry. You can just go in and maybe endorse them on a particular service that you know is good for them. The good thing about the endorsement is the reciprocity. Sorry,
Yeah.
English is kind of right now. You saw how I came, man, fresh out of boat. All right. So this is all new to me. All right. So reciprocity. All right. So what reciprocity entails is you give something and you get something in return. I am on this show right now because I give first.
Yes.
Am I lying, Gary?
100% you did. You invited me onto your show 8 months ago. 100%.
Okay. Right.
You know. And you never asked. You never said, "Hey, Gary, there's a deal here, man." Like, you never said that. You just let it happen, and you knew with your soul it would happen, and it is happening. And then I'm coming back on yours again. but this is a really powerful point, right? So you can be a professional, folk. You don't have to be running your own business to be on the online prosperity show. You could actually, that's a stage where you could actually be talking about some of the things you do as a thought leader in the space that you're in, and whatever industry it is. But have you even thought to maybe reach out to, say, someone like Prosper and say, "Hey, you've got this online show, like, would it be okay if I come on and be a guest for you?" Like, that's a possibility, right?
And guess what happens, Gary, when things like that happen? Your CEO will share that too. You know why? Because now they're proud of you. Because if people go out of their way to create something that promotes the business, you can imagine if you get featured in like some sort of a high ranking publication, and it says you are maybe the CMO or the COO of company X. Company X will now start wanting to ride with that wave. All right. So sometimes if you really look at the story that I mentioned, you create your own opportunities. All right. Some of these opportunities don't just come showing themselves. I went and I created the page. What if you would go in and maybe start creating your own profile, and your profile starts illuminating the company that you're working in? And so many people just want to do enough. And guess what? If you only do enough, the company will also just pay you enough so that you don't quit. And then it's like an unspoken thing that, yeah, you're walking past each other in the corridor. They don't care if you leave, because you're going to come back next week anyway, because you don't have enough money to sustain yourself. But what if you actually start creating a profile for yourself? They would want you closer because they know somebody's going to come and headhunt you. And guess what? That starts creating that office that you've always been eyeing, thinking, "Oh, I've been here for 24 years. Guess what? If somebody tells you they've been here for 24 years, where's the other 2 years that they were not working in COVID? So they are amplifying that by 2 years. They've only been there for 22 years. So at the end of the day, if you want to create some sort of opportunity for yourself, or some sort of promotion, or just being seen at work, you get seen by providing value. People get paid in direct proportion to the value they bring to the workplace. All right. Yes, you could be very valuable in your church. You could be very valuable in your community. You could be very valuable in your family. But if you're not giving us things that we can put under the armpit here and say, "You know what? But have you seen what he's doing? Have you heard what she did?"
Now, Prosper, for you to be able to articulate that so clearly, one of the beautiful things about the vision of seeing you right now is what's behind you. And what's behind you is a bookshelf full of books. Now, a bookshelf full of books doesn't happen by magic, folks. It means that Prosper, along his journey, has gone and put his hand in his pocket, and he's gone and bought those books, right? He's gone and invested in his development. He's gone and invested in himself. I want to hear from you, because I'm always very curious with my guests, Prosper, about the things that you've done to invest in you so you can be the best you can be for your clients and the world. What are some of your examples, in addition to clearly buying all those books and reading them and making sense of them over time, which is not only money but time. What are some of the things that you do to invest in you so you actually can be the best that you can be for your clients and the world?
Oh man, that's a that's a very good question, man. Because a lot goes into showing up for 10 minutes.
Yes.
All right. So you can imagine an athlete. All right. An athlete runs a 100-meter race in 2 seconds. But the 4 hour, not the 4 hour, the 4 a.m. wake up, the workouts, the nutrition, the everything else that has to happen. And also there's a redemptive amount of effort that just needs to go into believing yourself.
Yeah.
So to just say there wouldn't be just one thing.
No.
But what I can say is if you start slow, okay, just picture this from 16 to 65, you can earn a serious wage. But from 0 to 99, you can earn a profit. So you can choose and decide which range am I in right now. So many of us are just waiting until retirement, but you still have, and Australia is really good with the healthcare and everything else from 65 to 99. That's like 30 years of, if you haven't done anything. That's the reason why a lot of people have premature death, because they're not really making their mind work, or they spend all their money, like you were saying earlier on, because if you're not doing anything, you start spending money because that's the only way you get a dopamine hit. So for me, it's a combination of reading, because we're here to live, to learn, and to contribute. So if you want to live the best life ever, you got to learn as much as you can. Your health, your wealth, your relationships, finances, your vocation, all of those things combined to make yourself into a holistic person, whereby if you just show up in a thing like this, you can literally deliver. All right? If you ask me for real, like, you work on you don't work on Fridays and everything else. I was actually out because my little girl just started prep, and I was actually out playing with her, and then I just came and I was like, oh snap, this time around I need to go in and talk to Gary. But that 10 minutes, that 15 minutes has been prepared for. So whatever you want to become, who you want to become, sit yourself down. Say, hey, Gary, who do I want to be in 5 years? Who do I want around me? What sort of life do I want to be living? And if you can solve for 5 years, all right, then you can then maybe solve for 10 years.
Yes.
I know how my 100th birthday is going to be celebrated if I live up to 100.
Yes, so do I.
Right? So if you start doing that, when you get into a year, like the beginning of the year, a lot of people go in with their resolutions. Oh, I'm going to go healthy. I'm going to go, focus on my finances or my exercises and things like that. You now know, okay, in 5 years, I need to be this kind of person with this kind of health, with these kind of resources. Every other time that you're going to be working, you're just fulfilling that goal. All right. So if I was to come to your house today to record this at your house, what address would I put? The address of where I am or the address of where I'm going?
Where are you going?
Absolutely. All right. So I would put the address of where I'm going. All right. So what is it going to look like when you've arrived in 5 years? And then just start working on that, because maybe we don't want the same things. All right. So maybe you want that 6-figure salary to keep you going. But what if you start taking some of that 6-figure salary and start putting it into real estate, so that by the time you retire, you now have 3 or 4 or 5 different properties? I'm not a financial advisor, by the way, but this is something that we talk about at barbecues. And if you don't talk about things like this at barbecues, then you need to go to different barbecues.
Yes, that's right.
Right.
There's a whole side of life that people just don't talk about. Money is one of them, right? And life is not about making money. Right. But if you don't have money, life is a hell of a lot tougher than if you do.
Oh, absolutely. It's
just the
easier
reality.
to use Kleenex, tissue when you're crying in a Mercedes. I mean, obviously, it's one of the, and if you have paid for it, it's even a whole lot better. All right. So many people, when they're working within their job, they sort of over leverage themselves. But if you really educate yourself in terms of what actually do you want to become, who do you want to be, what do your kids' life look like, where are you going, and then just work towards that, the rest will take care of itself. Like when you go somewhere or you're going to work, you put the address of your work in your GPS. And even if there's a detour or whatever it is along the way, guess what? The GPS will just keep telling you 10 left. Yeah. Have you got that one with the very nice voices? Yeah. Is it 10
Yes.
left? But if you're driving with my wife will be like, where are you going? I'm like, no, the GPS is nicer. That's why I like driving by myself.
But every night before I go to bed, I write my big goals for my life. Every night. Because I want to dream about them.
Wow.
And I want to have them working in my brain. People don't realize your brain's working when you're asleep, people. Every single night, day after day, I've got thousands of entries of my big goals that I write down every night. Right? Because they have to be that everything I do the next day has to be informed about how is it helping me get there? How is it? Because that is the destination, right? Like, and we're talking big goals, big things, right? Like that. And I'm teaching this to my kids, because they're not going to learn this sort of stuff at school. Now, you and I could go on and on, as we identified for a very long time. We probably are hitting the time when the ovens go and ting on the episode. My audience needs to know the best way to get in touch with you, Prosper. What are going to be some, like, if they are particularly, if you're a professional and you want some help with your personal brand, if you're a coach, so that's your job with your business that you've got. If you're a consultant or a small business owner and you want some help with your marketing and online presence in particular, and actually Prosper, even he does a lot more about it. It's about leadership and culture and a whole bunch of things that Prosper does. And you only have to follow him on LinkedIn in particular and other places to see the breadth of what Prosper brings. But Prosper, what would be some of the best ways for people to get in contact with you? We'll make sure, folks, all of the links are in the show notes.
Fantastic. And thank you so much for that. I just thought I was coming to say hi, but I didn't realize you're, sharing me with your audience. And you guys have a really good man here. Take good care of him. He's precious. Now, my name is Prosper. All right. And there's not a lot of Prospers in Australia. That's one. Two, the name of my business is super, super easy to remember. Live long. So you can just remember live long and prosper. All right. If any of those two fail, all right. So look me up on LinkedIn. I'm not on all the other social media platforms. I've since retired from being on other platforms, but on LinkedIn, I'm very, very present. Prosper Tarovinga, Live Long Digital. Just remember in your head, live long and prosper. Okay, and you will find me. I've made sure that the Google gods understand, that this is who is being summoned.
That's where the SEO techniques that you got, they work, because you know that they work for Prosper and Live Long. So there we go, folks. Again, we will make it easy and have the actual links in the show notes as well. But go and have that little experiment to check for yourselves. Just go and Google Prosper or Live Long here in Australia and see who pops up first. And I think we can pretty much guarantee we know who it is going to be. So Prosper, I do want to thank you. I know you did take yourself away from playing with your beautiful daughter, who's just completed her first few days of primary school, which is a beautiful time for a family and a parent. So thank you for extracting you from your daughter. And no doubt you need to go back and play with her. So thank you for coming on the show, mate.
Hey, man, I really appreciate what you're creating here. And yes, for success.
Love it, love it, love it. So, folks, thanks again to Prosper Taravinga from Live Long Digital for being our special guest here today on the Moving Beyond Being Good podcast. Make sure you do go and check out yesforsuccess.guru to find out everything about the physical book, the ebook, the audio book that's on its way out. Of course, you can go buy it through Amazon and all other good online bookstores. When we debuted at number 6, a certain Oprah was number 1 in the category that I'm in. So I might not get the number 1 this time around, but I think I'll take a number 6 ranking against Oprah. She's pretty cool, I think. So it's a pretty proud moment when we did that. So check that out. We absolutely love bringing you great content. It's been absolutely exciting to have Prosper here with us today. Folks, we look forward to you joining us next time. Bye.